The Znamensky name was an ancient one, known since pre-Petrine times. A boyar family, once wealthy and influential. Larisa Ilyinishna had been compiling the family tree, gathering documents. "And what about the treasure? Do you know anything?" Daria asked. Galina Alexandrovna lowered her voice. "There is such a legend. In the time of troubles, Boyar Vasily Znamensky, Larisa's ancestor, hid his riches from the Poles and from marauders. They say the treasure was vast, gold, silver, precious stones. But where he hid it, no one knows." And what did Larisa Ilyinishna think of it? In her last years, she was deeply fascinated by the subject. She said she had found new documents that shed light on the treasure's location, but she never shared details. That evening, while Artyom played with his new construction set in his room, Daria again sorted through Aunt Larisa's diaries. This time, reading with greater attention, trying to follow the logic. Archives of the Trinity Sergius Monastery, document number 472, inventory of Boyar Vasily Znamensky's possessions made before his flight in 1613, mentions a great treasure hidden in a secure place until better times. Compared plans of the 15th century estate with modern maps. The old house stood 50 meters east of the current one. Perhaps the treasure lies under the old foundation. Metal detector shows anomaly in the garden under the old pear tree. Haven't dared to dig yet, could be a miscalculation. Daria set the diary aside, deep in thought. It seemed Larisa really had found traces of the treasure, and somehow Eldar had learned of it too, and now wanted the house at any cost. She went to the window and looked into the yard. Indeed, in the garden stood a huge old pear tree with a small clearing beneath it. What if something truly was buried there? The next day, the notary, Pyotr Vladimirovich, came to visit. Daria had called him the day before to arrange a meeting. "You did right to reach out," he said, settling into a chair in the living room. "I have another letter for you from Larisa Ilyinishna. She asked me to hand it over only after you inspected the house and decided to stay." With trembling hands, Daria opened the envelope. Inside was a sheet of paper, neatly written in her late relative's hand. "Dear Daria, if you are reading this letter, it means you chose to accept my inheritance. I studied our family history for many years, and it is no accident I chose you. You are an honest, principled woman, one who can be trusted with the family secret. In our house, there truly is a treasure of our ancestors, but it is not gold or jewels as the local treasure hunters believe. The real treasure is a collection of ancient manuscripts and artifacts that the Znamenskys gathered over centuries, priceless historical documents that could change our understanding of early Rus. Eldar Akhmedov and his accomplices have long been hunting for this collection. They think it is ordinary treasure and want to sell it abroad. We cannot allow our cultural heritage to fall into private hands. If anything happens to me, you must safeguard the collection and deliver it to a state museum. The hiding place is in the cellar, behind a sealed wall. The key to the cellar lies in my desk, in a hidden drawer. Take care of yourself and Artyom. These men are dangerous and capable of anything for profit. Your aunt, Larisa." Daria slowly lowered the letter. So the treasure did exist, but it was nothing like Eldar and the chairman imagined, and now she had become the keeper of the family secret. "Larisa Ilyinishna warned there could be danger," said the notary. "That's why she also asked me to give you this." He handed her a business card. Leonid Viktorovich Sokolov, physician and amateur historian. He was Larisa's friend and knew of her research. If you need help, contact him. After the notary left, Daria wandered through the house for a long time, turning everything over in her mind. She had landed in a true adventure. On one side, priceless historical treasures. On the other, dangerous men willing to do anything for greed. "Mama, what was in the letter?" Artyom asked when she told him about the notary's visit. "Aunt Larisa left us not only the house, but also very important historical documents. We must protect them and give them to a museum." "And where are these documents?" "In the cellar." "Do you want to see?" The boy's eyes lit up with curiosity. They went down into the cellar, a plain space with stone walls filled with jars of preserves, old furniture, and various household items. Daria found the key in the place Larisa had indicated and began searching for a hidden door. "Mama, look!" Artyom called. "This wall looks strange." Indeed, one wall was different from the others. The stones were laid differently, with faint cracks between them. Daria groped for a hidden handle and pulled. The wall shifted aside, revealing a small chamber, and what they saw made them gasp in amazement. The secret room lay in half darkness, but even by flashlight it was clear they had stepped into a true treasury. Along the walls stood wooden cabinets with glass doors, filled with ancient leather-bound books, scrolls of parchment, maps, manuscripts. On special stands rested old objects, silver crosses, Byzantine icons, ornaments from different eras. "Mama, it's like a whole museum," Artyom whispered, gazing wide-eyed at the artifacts. Daria approached one cabinet and read the label, Novgorod Chronicles, 10th to 11th centuries. Copies and original fragments. In another stood documents from the time of troubles. In a third, archaeological finds from the Popovka settlement. Mama, what's that? Artyom pointed to a large table in the center of the room, where under a glass case lay an open book. Daria bent over and saw an ancient text in Church Slavonic script. Beside it lay a translation in Larissa's handwriting. Tale of the concealment of the treasures of Boyar Vasily Znamensky in the year 7121. In the great time of troubles, when Poles and marauders ravaged Rus's, Boyar Vasily gathered his treasures. Not gold and silver, but wise books, miracle-working icons, ancient chronicles. And he hid them together with their secrets, so they would not perish through the ages. And he commanded his descendants to guard this treasure more dearly than gold, for in it lies the memory of the family and the Russian land. Do you understand, Artyomka? Daria explained gently. Our ancestors gathered not gold, but knowledge. Books, documents, historical relics. That is the real treasure, priceless for the whole nation. The boy nodded, though she could see a flicker of disappointment at the absence of pirate gold. They spent more than an hour in the secret chamber, studying the collection. Daria realized that what was gathered here truly held immense historical value. Some documents could even change scholars' understanding of early Russian history. When they finally returned upstairs, they saw a car had pulled up to the house. Out stepped a man in his mid-40s, simply dressed, with a kind, intelligent face. Daria Mikhailovna, I am Leonid Viktorovich Sokolov. The notary said you might wish to speak with me. Of course, please come in, Daria said with relief. I was just in need of advice. Over tea on the veranda, Leonid Viktorovich told her about his friendship with Larissa. We met 10 years ago at a conference on old Russian history. Larissa was a brilliant scholar, but very cautious. She understood the danger her collection posed. What danger? Daria asked. Black archaeologists, antiquities traffickers, greedy people of all sorts. On the black market, some of the artifacts from the Znamensky collection could fetch millions of dollars, especially the manuscripts. And what do you know about Eldar? Daria asked. Leonid Viktorovich's face darkened. Eldar Akhmedov, a man without principles. Officially, he's in construction, but in truth he traffics in stolen antiquities. He has connections with foreign collectors. Larissa feared him like fire. He knows about the collection, he suspects. In recent months, he had grown more insistent, even threatening her. Larissa thought of going to the police, but feared that publicity would only draw more unwanted attention. And what should we do now? We need to transfer the collection to the State Museum as soon as possible. I have contacts at the Institute of Archaeology. They'll help formalize everything. That evening, after Leonid Viktorovich had left, Daria couldn't sleep. Too much had fallen on her shoulders at once. The inheritance, the move, a new job, and now the responsibility for priceless historical treasures. Around midnight, a strange sound woke her, as if someone were carefully walking through the garden. Daria went to the window and peered out. In the moonlight, she saw several figures moving between the trees. Her heart began to race. She tiptoed into Artyom's room. The boy was sleeping soundly, then crept downstairs and looked out of the living room window. 3 men stood in the yard with flashlights and tools. One was Eldar, the second she didn't know, and the third was Edward, their handyman. Damn, she whispered. Voices carried in the night. Where's this hoard? We've searched everywhere, the stranger muttered. Maybe it's inside the house, another suggested. The woman and the kid are asleep. Tomorrow I'll come and say, I need to check the pipes. I'll inspect the cellar properly, and if we still don't find, Eldar pressed, we'll find it. The old woman held on to this house for a reason. That treasure has to be here. Daria backed away from the window, panic rising. She grabbed her phone and dialed Leonid Viktorovich. Forgive me for calling at night, she whispered, but we have a problem. Eldar and his men are searching the grounds. Call the police immediately, Leonid answered. I'll be there at once. And the collection, we'll move it out first thing in the morning. There's no more time to lose. Daria called the police, but by the time the patrol arrived, the intruders had vanished. The local officer, Mikhail Petrovich, turned out to be an understanding man. Eldar, you say? He frowned. Yes, I know him. There have been complaints, but catching him red-handed isn't easy. He's cautious. And what can we do, at least in theory? Daria asked. Strengthen patrols. And my advice, install an alarm system, cameras, and don't leave the house unnecessarily. The next morning, a whole delegation from the Institute of Archaeology arrived. Leonid Viktorovich hadn't wasted any time and brought specialists with him. They began carefully packing and removing the collection from the hidden room. My God, the chief researcher gasped, examining one of the chronicles. This is unique. Such manuscripts were thought lost forever. And how much would it be worth? Daria asked. On the black market, millions of dollars. But the true value is beyond measure. It is our history, our culture. By noon, the secret chamber was empty. All the artifacts had been taken to the institute, where they would be studied and cataloged. Thank you, the researcher said upon leaving. You've accomplished a true feat, preserving these treasures for the people. And what will become of the collection now? We'll create a special exhibition. And of course, We'll acknowledge that it was preserved thanks to the Znamensky family and to you personally. That evening, Darya sank into a chair in the living room, relieved. The weight of responsibility had finally lifted. The collection was safe. The H historical treasures were preserved for posterity. Mama, what happens now? Artyom asked. Are we staying here? Do you want to stay? Of course. It's so nice here. The school's good, the house is big, the air is clean. Then we'll stay. Tomorrow I'll go apply for the teaching position at the school, but their peace didn't last. Around 10 in the evening, there was another knock at the door. Edward stood on the threshold, but now he no longer hid his true intentions. His face was twisted with malice, and in his hand was a crowbar. Where's the treasure? He barked, forcing his way into the house. What treasure? Darya tried to feign ignorance. Don't play dumb. We know the old woman found something. Yesterday we saw boxes being carried out. What was in them? Old books. They were taken to the museum. Edward seized her roughly by the arm. Lies. Nobody makes that kind of fuss over books. Where's the gold? The jewels? Let go of my mom, Artyom cried, running out of his room. So the boy's here too, Edward sneered. Fine. Then we'll do this another way. At that moment, the phone rang. Darya answered automatically. Darya Mikhailovna, this is the district duty officer. We've received an alarm signal from your house, came the voice. Edward snatched the receiver and slammed it down. What alarm? He hissed. The one installed yesterday, Darya lied quickly. It automatically alerts the police when someone breaks in. Edward's face twisted with fury, but just then the sound of engines came from outside. He looked out the window, cursed and snarled, "This isn't over!" before fleeing through the back door. Moments later, two vehicles pulled into the yard, one a police car, the other Leonid Viktorovich's. What happened? He asked urgently. Your son called me, Leonid explained with a proud glance at Artyom. He said a man was breaking in. Artyom beamed. I remembered your number and called when that man grabbed Mama. Good boy, Leonid praised. A true defender, Edward was caught at the edge of the village. In his possession were lockpicks, a crowbar, and a marked plan of the Znamensky estate. It turned out he had been involved in illegal digs before and was part of a smuggling gang. It's over now, the officer reassured them. The ringleaders are under arrest. Without them, the smaller fish won't dare act, but Darya still felt uneasy. They had made too many enemies in a short time. A month later, life seemed to settle. Darya started working at the local school and was amazed at the difference from Moscow. Here, she was valued as a professional. The children listened with interest, and parents thanked her for her care. Artyom also adapted. He made friends and joined a young inventors club where his talent for building was appreciated. The house became a true family home. Darya tended the garden Larisa had planted, cooked in the spacious kitchen, and read in the cozy library at night. Artyom set up a workshop upstairs, creating increasingly complex robotic devices. But their tranquility was deceptive. One rainy October evening, there was another knock at the door. Two strangers in expensive suits stood on the porch, clearly not locals. Darya Mikhailovna Volkova? The older man, about 50, asked politely, his eyes cold. Alexander Viktorovich Krasin, private detective. And this is my colleague, Igor Seminovich. May we come in? We have business to discuss. What about? Darya asked cautiously, not opening the door fully. About missing valuables. We represent the interests of certain collectors who believe their rightful property was unlawfully removed from your house. I don't understand what you're talking about. The collection of antiquities you delivered to the State Museum, Krasin said evenly. Part of it, they claim, legally belongs to our clients. They possess documents showing purchase from previous owners. Darya felt her hands grow cold. These people clearly would not give up as easily as the local treasure hunters. I have a will. The will concerns the house and the land, she said. But not the movable property that could have been sold during the owner's lifetime, interrupted Krasin. In recent years, Larisa Ilinishna had financial difficulties and was forced to sell part of her collection. That's a lie. We have receipts signed by her own hand, the detective calmly continued, pulling a folder of documents from his briefcase. And witnesses to the transactions. Darya skimmed through the papers. The signature did indeed resemble Larisa Ilinishna's handwriting, but something about the documents seemed suspicious. Our clients are ready to settle the matter peacefully, Krasin went on. They demand either the return of their items or compensation in the amount of $3 million. I don't have that kind of money, but you do have a house worth 5 million rubles. That would be enough to partially cover the damages, and if I refuse... The detective's face hardened. Then the case will go to court, and we will demand not only compensation, but also reimbursement for moral damages, legal expenses, and penalties for using someone else's property. In the end, the sum may reach $10 million. After they left, Darya sat in the kitchen for a long time, trying to collect her thoughts. Was this only the beginning? Would she once again have to lose everything? Mom, what happened? Artyom asked, noticing her pale face. Nothing serious, sunshine. Just some people who think they have a right to your aunt's things. And are they right? No. But proving it won't be easy. The next day, Daria contacted Leonid Viktorovich and told him about the detective's visit. This is serious, he frowned. Apparently, foreign antiquities dealers have decided to act through frontmen. The documents are, of course, forged, but they look convincing. What should I do? You'll need a good lawyer and a document examination. I know specialists who can prove the forgery, but time is against them. Within a week, Daria received a court summons. The lawsuit was filed for an astronomical sum, $8 million, plus interest and moral damages. Mom, could we lose? Artem asked one evening. I don't know, son, but we'll fight. And if we lose, we'll have to leave this place. Daria hugged her son tightly. In these few months, he had grown so attached to the new home, made friends, thrown himself into school. Would they be uprooted again? But fate had another twist in store. On Saturday morning, an agitated Leonid Viktorovich came to them. I have news, he said, not even stepping over the threshold. Both good and bad. Start with the bad. Last night, thieves tried to break into the institute. The guards scared them off, but they were clearly looking for something specific. Most likely, this Nemensky collection. And the good news? When one of the thieves was caught, they found some very interesting documents. Correspondence with clients, break-in schemes, and most importantly, instructions for forging ownership papers on antiquities. Daria felt a wave of relief. So those receipts really are forgeries, just as we thought. More than that, one of the detainees has testified. It turns out the whole affair was organized by an international antiquity smuggling ring. Their scheme is simple. First, they try to steal valuables, and if that fails, they claim rights through the courts with forged documents. And now we have every reason to file a countersuit for slander, attempted fraud, and moral damages. The trial took place a month later. By then, the expert analysis had unequivocally confirmed the falsity of the documents, and the ringleader of the antiquities gang gave a full account of their fraudulent scheme. The claim against the defendant, Volkova DM, is denied due to the lack of evidence from the plaintiff, read the judge. Furthermore, the actions are classified as an attempted fraud on an especially large scale. Daria could barely hold back tears of relief. It was over. The house remained theirs. No one would ever claim the inheritance again, but the adventures were not yet finished. A week after the trial, while Daria was picking Artem up from school, a stranger approached them. Daria Mikhailovna, my name is Yuri Olegovich Petrov. I'm a journalist. Could you give an interview about your inheritance? An interview? What for? The story is fascinating. A mysterious inheritance, ancient treasure, criminals. Our readers would be thrilled. No, thank you. I don't want publicity. But you've become a real heroine, preserving priceless historical artifacts, exposing an international gang of fraudsters. I only carried out my relative's wishes. Nothing heroic. Just a short report. I could even pay you... No, the journalist left, but a few days later, the story still appeared in the newspapers. Someone at the museum or the police must have leaked the information. The headline read, "A Moscow schoolteacher saves priceless treasure of Russian history," and then began exactly what Daria feared most, the invasion of the curious. Crowds of journalists, bloggers, and tourists flocked to the house. Everyone wanted to see the storied home and speak with the heroine. Mom, can't we just build a taller fence? Artem asked, staring out the window at the gawking crowd with cameras. We could, but it wouldn't solve the problem, and the problem was serious, indeed. Their quiet life in the village was over. Each day they had to fend off reporters, refuse interviews, and chase away uninvited guests. Worst of all, among the tourists, there could well be new treasure hunters. Not everyone believed that the treasure had already been found and removed. Maybe we really should sell the house and leave? Daria asked Leonid Viktorovich despairingly. What's the rush? He reassured her. The fuss will die down. People's memories are short. In a couple of months, they'll forget all about you. But no one intended to forget. On the contrary, Daria began receiving letters from various organizations offering collaborations, documentary, films, even a book about her experience. And then something completely unexpected happened. One frosty December day, a familiar car pulled up to the gate. Out stepped her ex-husband, Yuri. He looked haggard, his face gaunt, his suit wrinkled, worry in his eyes. Beside him stood an unfamiliar woman, not the elegant Nika, but some gray, frightened figure. Daria, we need to talk, Yuri said as he approached the porch. It's very serious. What is there to talk about? Daria replied coldly. I have nothing to say to you. It's about Artem, her ex-husband insisted, about his safety. And then Daria realized the worst was yet to come. What happened? She asked, letting him into the house. After all, this was about her son's safety. Yuri walked into the living room, glancing nervously around. The woman who had come with him pressed against the wall, clearly frightened. Daria, I know you hate me, and I deserve it, he began, sitting on the edge of the sofa. But this isn't about me. Artem is in danger. What kind of danger? Daria felt her heart quicken. Do you remember Nika, my former wife, the so-called businesswoman? Well, it turns out she wasn't just a businesswoman. She's connected to the same gang of antiquities dealers you exposed. And now they want revenge. Daria sank into a chair. Explain. When your story hit the papers, Nika started acting strangely, nervous, making calls, meeting people. Then I accidentally overheard her on the phone. She was saying that the teacher ruined everything and must be taught a lesson through her child. My God, Daria whispered. I tried to talk to her, but she wouldn't explain anything. She only said that if I told anyone, I'd regret it. And the next day, some men in a black SUV came to our house. Nika met with them for over an hour. And who is this woman? Daria nodded toward his companion. Ludmila. She worked as Nika's administrator, Yuri replied. Tell her. Ludmila nervously licked her lips. I accidentally overheard Victoria Sergeyevna, Nika, planning to kidnap your son. They wanted to take him far away and demand ransom. Not money, but certain documents. What documents? I don't know exactly. Something connected to archaeology. They said you had copies of important papers that could expose them, Daria remembered. Indeed, Leonid Viktorovich had given her copies of all the documents from the secret room in case something happened to the originals in the museum. When is this supposed to happen? She asked. Tomorrow, Ludmila whispered. When the boy's walking home from school, they've studied his route. We need to call the police immediately. I already did, Yuri replied, but they want evidence, and all we have are words. At that moment, Artem burst into the house, cheeks flushed with frost, smiling brightly. Mom, who are these people? He asked, spotting the strangers. Artem, come here, Daria called, hugging him tightly. This is your father. The boy looked at his father with surprise. In the 6 months without him, Artem had grown noticeably, taller, more confident. Hello, Artem, Yuri said awkwardly. You've grown. Hello, the boy answered politely but coolly. Artem, we need to talk seriously, Daria said. Sit beside me. She explained the situation, trying not to frighten him but also not hiding the danger. So tomorrow I won't go to school, the boy concluded. For now, we need to think what's best. May I suggest something? Artem said suddenly. Of course. I have an idea. Remember the robot I built with a GPS tracker and a camera? We could make them think they've kidnapped me, but in fact, they'd walk right into a trap. The adults exchanged glances. Artem, that's far too dangerous, Yuri said. But what if I'm not alone? The boy insisted. You'll be protecting me. Daria hesitated. The plan was risky, but it had logic. If they just hit Artem, the gang would find another way to get to them. But this way, they might catch them red-handed. That evening, Leonid Viktorovich arrived. After hearing about the planned kidnapping, he immediately contacted his friends in the police. They agreed to the operation, he reported an hour later, but only if the child is under constant protection. How will it look? Artem goes to school as usual. Plainclothes officers will be nearby. The moment the kidnappers try to grab him, they'll be arrested. And if something goes wrong, there's always risk. But the alternative is worse. These people won't stop. The next morning, Daria sent her son to school with a pounding heart. Artem was calm, even excited about the adventure ahead. In his backpack lay his homemade robot with a camera and GPS tracker, just in case. Don't worry, Mom, he said before leaving. It'll be fine. Daria, Yuri, and Leonid Viktorovich sat in a car not far from the school, following the situation over the radio. Target has left the school, came the operative's voice. Proceeding along usual route, suspicious vehicle spotted, another reported minutes later. Black Jeep without plates. Stand by. Daria clenched her fists. Her son's fate was about to be decided. Contact! The radio crackled. 2 suspects approaching the child. Daria nearly jumped out of the car, but Leonid Viktorovich stopped her. Wait. Let the professionals do their job. The child is resisting, the operative relayed. They're trying to force him into the vehicle. All units, move in! The next minutes dragged like hours. Through the radio came clipped commands, car doors slamming, shouts. 2 suspects apprehended. The child is safe. At last. Daria rushed to the scene. Artem stood next to the officers, alive and unharmed, just a bit ruffled. Mom! He exclaimed happily. It worked! I turned on the robot when they approached, and now we have a recording of their whole conversation. Indeed, the small device in his backpack had captured everything. The kidnappers' talk, their clients, their plans. Bravo, son, Daria said, hugging him tightly. You're a true hero, like your father in detective stories. The boy beamed with pride. A week later came the news. Nika and her entire gang had been arrested. Artem's robot recording became key evidence in the case. Well, that's that, Leonid Viktorovich said, sipping tea with them on the veranda. Now nothing will stop you from living in peace. I hope so, Daria smiled. Mom, can I officially be a detective now? Artem asked. I already have experience. For now, just keep studying, detective, his mother laughed. And keep building your robots. See how useful they turned out to be? The next day, Yuri returned to Moscow. Before leaving, he spent a long time talking with his son. Dad, You won't say bad things about Mom anymore, will you? Artem asked. No, son. Now I see what a wonderful mother you have, and what a clever boy. And will you visit us if Mom agrees? Darya nodded. She no longer felt anger toward her ex-husband. He had changed, grown up, finally understood what truly mattered. That spring, Leonid Viktorovich proposed to Darya. They married in May, when the apple trees blossomed and the garden was awash in white petals. Now I have a real dad, Artem said solemnly, carrying the rings on a cushion. And I have a son inventor, Leonid Viktorovich replied. Artem filmed the whole wedding with his new drone, a gift from his stepfather. Now everything is truly good, Darya said, watching the footage of their joyous day. And she was right. The unexpected inheritance had not only changed their lives, but led them to true happiness. The Znamensky house was once again filled with laughter, love, and joy. At the museum, a permanent exhibition of the Znamensky family's treasures was opened, with a plaque at its center. The collection preserved and donated to the state by Darya Mikhailovna Volkova and her son Artem. As it turned out, the true treasure was not gold or jewels. It was family, love, and the power to make the world better.